Live from Studio G and fighting for you from the Foxhole Freedom. Here we go into another brand new hour of the Steve Gruber Show. Warning, the Steve Gruber Show often results in extended periods of American pride, American optimism, and uncontrollable enthusiasm for the future of this country. Kicking off the live broadcast day on Real America's Voice, MTN, and more, and reaching a growing global audience, this is the Steve Gruber Show. Here are three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, another major victory for the Trump administration as the Supreme Court, where the justices said President Trump was certainly free to fire thousands of employees if he saw fit, which he did. Number two, the White House is holding tight to its guns on tariffs and have announced the EU, South Korea, and Japan now all asking for an elimination of the tariffs to create a level playing field. It's working. And number three, but those tariffs and the battles over them are creating unrest in the markets, as you know. After soaring to start the day on Tuesday, the Dow, Nasdaq, and S&P 500 all fell back into the red. Not as bad as last week, but certainly not what millions were hoping for when they saw the numbers early in the day. But then new tariffs on China took effect at noon. For many, it is hard to take, especially those that are retired and relying on the investments they made to get them through the rest of their lives. And right now, the Wall Street future is shaping up as a pretty flat start to today. The Dow up a little, S&P and Nasdaq down a little, but I mean basically flat. I'll continue to look at that in detail, but I want to shift gears into what I think is certainly going to pay dividends for this nation in the years to come, and that is a completely retooled American first energy policy. America first when it comes to energy. It was one of the major promises made by Donald Trump on the campaign trail. Make America energy dominant again. He began keeping those promises in the first days of his second term when he declared a national energy emergency to unleash all the tools available to create not just an American energy resurgence, but to create an American energy dominance across the globe. On Tuesday, he delivered on those promises again, this time by inviting dozens of American coal miners to the White House and to sign an executive order to expand, build, and defend coal production in America, and push coal to new levels and to compete with the Chinese, who, by the way, have been building 2 new coal-fired power plants a week for the past many years. 2 a week. Think about that. 2 new coal-fired power plants a week, some in China, others in countries that are involved with the Belt and Road Initiative around the planet. Many of them aren't even being put online because they're not actually needed right now. They're being built and set aside for future reference. So the Chinese will have all the power they want, anywhere they want it, and they'll have the ability to fire those plants up when they decide they need them. This is the kind of forward thinking that has kept too many Americans up at night, but the Democrats remained in the dark, pursuing the Green New Deal, which, if we continued down that path, would leave America in the dark for decades to come. But the road to a brighter future begins right here in America, and it begins right now. President Trump said his executive order that he signed yesterday will cut regulations that have handicapped energy production and development in America for years. Here he is.
Now, under the executive order that I will sign in a few moments, we're slashing unnecessary regulations that targeted the beautiful clean coal. We will rapidly expedite leases for coal mining on federal lands, and these 2 gentlemen are going to do a real job of it. You've already started. And we'll streamline permitting. We will end the government bias against coal, and we're going to unlock the sweeping authorities of Defense Production Act, the Defense Production Act, to turbocharge coal mining in America.
The crowd of miners gathered at the White House to witness the president signing the executive order was jubilant. And after how they've been treated by the last administration, basically as the enemy, it's no wonder they're happy to be there, to see their futures get brighter with a new president. President Trump signing the executive order to further unleash American energy renaissance, and with clean coal as the cornerstone, it is a big deal for these guys. Here he is again.
The value of untapped coal in our country is 100 times greater than the value of all the gold at Fort Knox, and we're going to unleash it and make America rich and powerful again. Under this order, I'm also directing Secretary Wright to use billions of dollars in federal funding to invest in the next generation of coal technology, which is an amazing technology in terms of getting the full potential of coal and also doing it a very clean, environmental way. Pound for pound, coal is the single most reliable, durable, secure, and powerful form of energy there is on Earth today. It's a big statement. You never hear those statements, you know. You've never heard that before from a politician, have you? Well, maybe from that politician, but not too many. But that's the way it is. I say it again. Pound for pound, coal is the single most reliable, durable, secure, and powerful form of energy. It's cheap, incredibly efficient, high density, and it's almost indestructible. You could drop a bomb on it, and it's going to be there for you to use the next day, which you can't say with any other form of energy. You're virtually indestructible. Most importantly, we have more of it here in America than anywhere else on Earth.
More coal here. Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Wyoming. All these energy states. And throughout the entire event, which, by the way, was longer than most, involving just one executive order, President Trump hammered on Joe Biden, hammered on the Democrats and their failed policies, which punished people like the miners that are there. And honestly, why wouldn't he pound on them? They were a disaster for the coal industry, for the energy sector, and therefore for this country. American energy dominance will lead to further economic dominance, and you cannot put a price on that. It's why the Chinese are going to fold. More about that coming up. President Trump says this is a departure from the previous failed administration that waged war on American energy at every turn. Why? We don't know. Here he is.
The Democrats' Green New Scam killed jobs and sent prices soaring here in America. But meanwhile, China opened 2 coal plants every single week, and other countries likewise went very strongly back into coal. Some of them never got off. Those are the ones that didn't have the problems. The Biden energy policy was to put America last. We want to be last. We got to be last. Not a good policy. Under my administration, we're putting America first. It's very simple. America's always going to be first. On my first day in office, I terminated the Green New Scam. I declared the national energy emergency and withdrew from the unfair, one-sided, and extremely costly to the United States only Paris Climate Accord.
Yeah. Got to get out of the Paris Climate Accord. Why? Because it's a hindrance to anything we do here in America. Again, America runs on vast quantities of cheap energy. Now, having said that, there are some good news and some good things happening. Crude oil is below $60 now, $57 on West Texas Intermediate, $57. Brent crude, the benchmark, at exactly $60. And what does this mean? It means in a couple of weeks, gas prices are going to drop big in this country. It's what it means. It means that there will not be any more inflation. Gas prices continue to drop, down from just yesterday. Again, we'll have it all for you coming up. The gas prices dropping 3 cents yesterday in America. It's good news for everybody. I'll be back with more in a moment. Something else that Donald Trump does well and regularly is taking time to recognize the people that do the work in this country. It's so important. It really is so important. He took time to praise the coal miners for all their hard work as they stood behind him in the Oval Office. And really, by doing so, praise the American middle class and the men and women who work so hard every day in this country and contribute to this thing we call America, to building it. He's very good at this. Very good. The president praised the coal miners and their middle class struggle. Here's what he said.
The energy workers and the coal miners in the area that I'm standing on, and that's a lot of weight on this platform, so I don't know what's going to happen. I hope it's structurally designed for you guys. I don't know. But we have just really well-deserving, great American patriots, and it's such an honor to be here and making such a big move, such a bold move in energy. Because, for years, people would just bemoan this industry and decimate the industry for absolutely no reason, because with modern technology and all of the other things that we do, it's one of the great forms of energy. That's why other countries, leading countries, are using it, some exclusively.
Yeah. So there you have it. Donald Trump stepping up, putting American energy front and center. An important thing that he's done here. Very important, in fact. Meanwhile, the tariffs remain front and center. Critics blame them for the turmoil in the markets, which is probably true, but don't expect them to go away anytime soon, because President Trump is determined to make long-term changes that make America stronger and more resilient, not just for today, but for generations to come. Caroline Levitt weighed in on the tariffs and how President Trump intends to pursue the defense of the American economy. She says he will not bend. Here she is.
The president's message has been simple and consistent from the beginning. To countries around the world, bring us your best offers, and he will listen. Deals will only be made if they benefit American workers and address our nation's crippling trade deficits. America does not need other countries as much as other countries need us, and President Trump knows this. He's going to use the leverage of our markets and our country to the advantage of the people he was sworn in to represent. On the other hand, countries like China, who have chosen to retaliate and try to double down on their mistreatment of American workers, are making a mistake. President Trump has a spine of steel, and he will not break, and America will not break under his leadership. He is guided by a firm belief that America must be able to produce essential goods for our own people and export them to the rest of the world.
Yeah, there you have that. He's not going to break now. Looking at the futures, I just told you that oil is below $60. WTI, West Texas Intermediate, is at $57. Brent crude, which is considered the benchmark for many, right at $60 a barrel. That's down $4 from yesterday. A lot of reasons for this. One of the reasons is America is stepping up in the energy sector. Another reason is that the OPEC nations are battling amongst themselves. The oil-producing nations battling amongst themselves, there's a internal strife there. As a result, some of those nations are going to produce more oil, put it on the world market, even though the prices are depressed at this point. The sweet spot, I learned yesterday, somewhere between $65 and $75 a barrel for everybody, but right now we're below that, which is good for the consumer, because what's going to happen is the inflation rate for April is going to be well below 2%, which will force the Fed and Jerome Powell to drop interest rates. And when interest rates drop, and they should drop twice, really it should be 50 basis points, should be half a percentage point is what it should be. That will drive mortgages and car loans and consumer buying. That's what it'll drive, right? Right now, by the way, the change pre-market, we're just looking at this because we've been watching it so close for a few days. The Dow's going to open about 250 points down, less than 1%. S&P 500's down 22 points, about 0.5%. And the Nasdaq is in the green, right at about even, just up a couple of points. So, I mean, they're pretty close to even. Don't see the big bottom falling out of it today. No Black Monday. Jim Cramer so disappointed. But all of these tariffs and all of this aggressive behavior by the Trump administration to level the playing field, to reorder the world economy, is forcing people to the table. Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, says several trading partners will soon be making deals to dump tariffs because they can't take it. Here's what he said yesterday afternoon.
You're starting to negotiate. How soon do you think we could see some deals be made?
Well, we have one of the Vietnamese officials coming in this week. The Japanese are very eager to get over, and I think you're going to see a couple of big trading partners do deals very quickly.
Do you plan talks with China today?
There you have it. They'll be making deals very quickly. We already know that Japan is asking for a deal, South Korea asking for a deal, Taiwan asking for a deal. We know that Israel was already here this week. Benjamin Netanyahu here asking for a deal. And so they continue to step up and step in and try to get this done. Yeah. It's a different day in America. Now, is there pain out there? Yes, it is. If you're retired and you're relying on your retirement savings, do not look at your account today. Give it some time. But I will tell you this. After the crash of 1987, for example, 1 year later, stocks are up 28%. I don't know if we'll see that sort of rebound this time around, but I can be an optimist. There was going to be pain. Look, it would be worse, by the way, my friends, at $36 trillion in debt? A debt crisis would be worse because everybody would lose and there would be no rebound. Not now and not ever. So, stay the course. Stay the course. I'm with President Trump until further notice, as you know. Good to see you here. I've got an experiment I need to ask you about when we come back. I need your help with something very important after the break.